Hey Internet, my name's Sarah Bear and welcome to your Daily Mario Moment. Today is the last Friday in April, which means that it's Arbor Day. While I remember a bit of discussions about it when I was in grade school, I pretty much forgot about its existence as an adult. That changed a little for me a few years ago when my wife and I moved to Nebraska where Arbor Day was founded. Because this state, like most small states, will scrape for anything unique to lay claim to, there are actually a lot of celebrations in the area where they encourage people to get out and enjoy nature, making it one of the more unique holidays. While all of this is reason enough to appreciate the day, I think what makes it special is what J. Sterling Morton wrote when he first proposed Arbor Day. Other holidays repose upon the past. Arbor Day proposes for the future. Hey Internet, my name's Sarah Bear. Welcome to your Daily Mario Moment. The Memphis Grizzlies were matched up against the Lakers and the GOAT, LeBron James, in the first round of the playoffs, and this has been a nightmare for one of their players. After a Game 2 win, Dylan Brooks decided to talk a little smack, saying that he doesn't respect someone until they drop 40 and that he pokes bears. The Grizzlies then went and dropped the next 2 games, after which Mr. Bear Poker declined to speak to the media. He then purged his Instagram, which must have inspired the Grizz because they got the Game 5 win. That was his biggest contribution to the game because he was arguably their worst player on the court. While his performance was slightly better in Game 6, the Grizz lost and their season ended. Brooks' future is now up in the air and he may be let go, but his story is a message to all of us. If you speak up, you better step up. Hey Internet, my name's Sarah Bear. Welcome to your Daily Mario Moment. As expected, Elon taking over Twitter has caused a bit of a divide in the user base, leaving many that used to love the platform looking for alternatives. Well, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binaries, we have a new competitor in the social media sphere that seems to be a direct competitor to Twitter. Blue Sky was an idea that began with a 2019 tweet by Twitter founder Jack Dorsey announcing that Twitter was funding a small group to develop an open and decentralized standard for social media, with the goal of Twitter later utilizing this standard. This ultimately led to Blue Sky establishing its own LLC, keeping it as an entirely separate venture from Twitter. As of March, the app has been in an invite-only beta test. From a user perspective, the goal of Blue Sky is to have people tailor their own algorithms and content moderation settings instead of just having a one-size-fits-all approach that other socials utilize. So, will it work? While most socials that are made to be an alternative to other applications that already exist tend to fail quickly and spectacularly, Blue Sky feels a little different in just that it was started to bolster what Twitter already was, and isn't just a reaction to something creators didn't like, or a corporation trying to steal a piece of an already existing pie. Will that be the difference that ascends Blue Sky to relevance and success? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Hey Internet, my name's Sarah Bear. Welcome to your Daily Mario Moment. I was thinking about it and realized it's been about 2 years or so since I last cut my hair. I love having longer hair now, but it was definitely something I never really thought that I would do when I was younger. So why did I start to grow it out? I'll tell you why not only I, but plenty of other millennial white guys grew out their hair for the first time in summer 2021. We all saw this man do a comedy special and realized it was the perfect time to try COVID couture. It worked for some, was a disaster for others, but either way, we all got an experience, and that's what life is all about. Hey Internet, my name's Sarah Bear. Welcome to your Daily Mario Moment. The second round of the NBA playoffs has officially started. The first round is more of a litmus test to filter out the pretenders, but this is where it starts to get serious. Here's your quick rundown of the team, starting with the East. Heat versus Knicks. Jimmy Butler has been playing on another planet, and the Knicks have been more solid than we first thought. But no one expects much out of either of these teams in the long run. In reality, the winner of the series will likely lose in the next round to the winner of Sixers versus Celtics. The Sixers have a solid team with Joel Embiid likely winning the MVP, but he is dealing with a knee injury, and this iteration of the team has had more playoff letdowns than successes. The Celtics have the best team in the league on paper. Great offensive and defensive pieces all around, being led by Jason Tatum. But they struggled more in the first round than expected, and people are waiting to see if they have another gear. Come back tomorrow and we'll break down the Wild West. Hey Internet, my name's Sarah Bear and welcome to your Daily Mario Moment. More sports talk as we're back touching on the NBA's Western Conference semis. Nuggets versus Suns. This series actually started a little earlier than the others, and my Nuggets have won the first 2, but there's loads of firepower on both sides. We'll be seeing if the Suns can make a comeback. Unfortunately for them, a lack of depth is looking to be a real issue. Lakers versus Warriors. This is the series you'll hear most about on socials. The current dynasty in the Warriors faces arguably the most successful franchise in sports with the Lakers. A lot of talk will be around Steph versus LeBron, but both these guys are on the back half of their 30s, so the winner will likely come down to which supporting cast steps up more over the course of 7 games. All of these series feel like even matchups, but I think the Heat, Sixers, Nuggets, and Lakers all advance. Either way, we're in for some exciting basketball. Hey Internet, my name's Sarah Bear and welcome to your Daily Mario Moment. Since Tuesday, the Writers Guild of America has been on strike. So what's the deal? Or lack thereof. Some of the WGA proposals include an increase in their minimum wages, increased minimum staff with guaranteed duration of employment for that staff, and improved residuals for streaming services. The WGA has published a summary document that shows the differences, and it looks like we aren't very close to an agreement. So, what does this mean for you and me? For the short term, very little unless you watch late night TV like The Daily Show, The Tonight Show, or SNL, who are now all showing reruns. RIP to the Pete Davidson and Little Uzi Vert episode. But the longer this goes on, the more likely scripted TV shows will get delayed or canceled. All this to say, you should be supporting the writers and all unions that go on strike. These are people fighting for livable work conditions, and their opposition is multi-million-dollar film companies. And the success of a group of workers is a success for the working class like you and me as a whole. Hey Internet, my name's Tara Bear and welcome to your Daily Mario Moment. Something new has made me feel old and I'm viewing it as a personal attack. I'm watching basketball, obviously, and because that's the only broadcast TV I've watched in months, I'm seeing all sorts of new commercials. One commercial featured now old NBA player Chris Paul wanting to wear the old school NBA shorts. When he said old school shorts, I was thinking we were going to be seeing the short booty shorts they used to wear back in the 80s. Cut to the commercial, and Paul isn't wearing those, he's wearing these. I remember shorts like this being a fad and even wearing some when I was young and playing basketball. But this is the first time it hit me that they're now considered old. I guess Father Time continues to be undefeated. Hey Internet, there was an incident in the Nuggets-Suns game last night that's a microcosm of the owning class versus the working class. After the Suns scored, the ball bounced into the crowd and landed in the hands of Suns owner Matt Ishbia. Nikola Jokic of the Nuggets tried to grab the ball quickly to resume play, and Ishbia disrupted the game by clutching onto it further. The ball ends up popping out, and Ishbia gets in Jokic's face more before getting nudged away. After this, play stops for an official review. This resulted in Jokic getting a technical and Ishbia, the instigator of the situation, getting nothing. If it would have been a regular person, he would have been thrown out. How do we know this? Because a regular fan got thrown out during the altercation for laying a hand on the player. Let this be a reminder. The owning class doesn't have to live by our rules. They get to skirt by and do what they want, and even if you're a multimillionaire star of the league, you're still just a worker who gets punished for trying to fight for your own space. Hey Internet, I went to go see the Blink-182 reunion tour kickoff in St. Paul last week. The show was incredible, but it got me thinking, what's going on in the pop punk scene in the year of our Lord 2023? I checked out the Spotify playlist Pop Punk's Not Dead, which is essentially their playlist of all the new pop punk releases. And while I liked a lot of the music, it didn't feel like the pop punk that I used to listen to. It made me realize pop punk was popular because it's straightforward and could be done with 3 or 4 friends that weren't very good at their instruments. Thanks in advances to technology, it's easier to make music that's more complex, and that's what a lot of that Spotify playlist was. Gone are the days of simple and easy to play music being produced, as we make way to a world with synths, layering, and good singing. Sadly, more availability of synthesized music has caused the death of the pop punk age, but overall, it's not necessarily a bad thing. After all, the Stone Age didn't end because they ran out of stones. Hey Internet, this is a bit of a longer level, so as a reward for sticking around, I'm going to talk about something that's helped me improve my interpersonal relationships and has improved my emotional health. It's an understanding of what we call in my house a lid flip. So what's that? Essentially, it's when you become so overwhelmed with rage, anxiety, or sadness that you enter a survival mode where you either fight, flight, freeze, or fawn based on your natural instincts. The key thing to take away from this is that once your lid is flipped, you can't think logically until you close it back up. This means that you may be prone to do anything from a violent outburst to shutting down completely, but it also means that in no way, shape, or form should you be making decisions in this state. So what can you do? Because you're overcome with emotions, you can't just force your lid closed. It takes time and some centering. If you recognize you're here, you need to do 2 things. First, you need to step away. Excuse yourself, and if you're with someone you feel comfortable with, just say, "Hey, my lid is flipped and I need to walk away." Find some personal space for step 2. Breathe. Take deep and slow breaths. Stretch out, get your heart rate down. This will let your lid gently close. Once you feel better, go back to your situation and reassess. It's just a start, but having a better mental status will help you think logically and have compassion for others. The more you do this, the more emotionally intelligent you'll get. You'll know when you're getting close to going over the line and get better at pulling back without having to formally excuse yourself. Or you might find consistent factors that lead to your lid flips. Personally, I cut back on drinking because I became more aware of how it affected me emotionally. It's all working towards building your own awareness. Having this emotional intelligence is key to self-betterment, relationship strengthening, and often a better life. Hey Internet! After parting ways with Fox News just over 2 weeks ago, Tucker Carlson has finally gotten off his lazy ass and found a new job. Tucker announced on Tuesday that his show will now be run on everyone's new favorite hellscape, Twitter. While it would be easy to go after self-proclaimed centrist Elon Musk for giving a platform to a right-wing show that can't legally be considered news, my gears really started turning because Twitter doesn't really have a very solid video platform. Even the announcement video was shown in landscape, but most people, 80%, use Twitter on their phones holding them like this. I doubt there are a swarm of people excited to hold their phones sideways for a half hour just to watch Tucker. Are we going to see a new smart TV app or a form of monetization for video creators to help drive more people to Twitter as a video service? Maybe, but Elon has run Twitter on more of a reactive basis than a proactive one, so I'll believe it when I see it. Hey Internet! Here's a cute little boss fight where Wendy from the original Super Mario game has been replaced by a Yoshi sprite. It's too short to talk about anything substantial, so here's something stupid instead. There once was a Yoshi in lava. It burns like McDonald's hot Java. 3 hits and he's down, he sinks to the ground, now he'll never eat any more guava. Edward Lear was an author who helped popularize the limerick. In commemoration, May 12th, his birthday, became National Limerick Day. So write a limerick and have fun exploring your creative side. So I have to travel to Minneapolis, sometimes for work, every few months or so, and there's no real good flights to Minneapolis, so I usually have to rent a car and just drive up. So Monday morning at 7 a.m., I go to pick up my car, and the lady she looks at my license, kind of checks it out, and she's like, "Have you rented it with us before?" She's like, "Yeah, like February or so." She's like, "Oh, well, you had a birthday since you last rented, and we can't give you a car now." I was like, "What? Your license is expired." I'm like, "What the fuck?" I had been walking around with an expired license for about a month, a little over a month, and she's the first person to notice. So luckily, this is before the DMV opens. I rush home, I print shit out. Thank God I'm one of 10 people on Earth that owns a working printer. I go to the DMV because I get there like right when they open. I'm through in about 10 minutes. Everything checks out, but because I have an expired license, I have to take a test. The biggest problem with that is they don't do tests at this location that I went to, so they have to make an appointment. I'm like, an appointment? That sucks. I can't get an appointment today or whatever. Like, I'm screwed. I'm here. I have to travel for work. So, like, I can't afford not to be on the road today. And she's like, "Well, I can get you in at 9:10 on the other side of town." Deal. Let's go. Get in the car. We get through. I get there about a half hour early, which is great. It gives me time to open up the, little app, and like look through the like driver's manual, where it was stuff that I knew, but I did learn that we changed the rule, I guess, of how far we're supposed to be behind a car. It used to be 2 seconds. I remember it was 2 seconds when I took driver's ed. I talked to other people since then. They're like, yeah, it was 2 seconds. They changed it to 3, and I'm like, oh, thank God I read this, because that's probably going to be on the test, and I would have gotten that wrong. So I get in, I go through, and I start the test. I have taken tests in, this is now 3 states that I've taken a test in, South Dakota, Minnesota, and now in Nebraska. And this one they made way harder than the other ones, like on purpose. There were like 8 questions that I had to just guess on because I didn't know the like specific rules for the state. It wasn't about like, you know, questions about like how to drive. It's like penalty questions of like, okay, well, if you do this, what's the penalty for it? And like, I don't give a shit. I don't care what the penalty for something is. Like, all that should really matter is that I know that it's illegal to do something. But there were a handful of questions that were just that. This is going to go longer than TikTok is going to allow. So tune into part 2, which will be up. I'll upload it as soon as I upload this part to see if I actually get my license. Yo, this is a part 2 to a video. Context is really, I'm taking a driving test for my license. If you want more context, go check out part 1. Thanks. And then there were 2 questions that were like intentionally like misleading to, you know, give you a 50-50 chance to just get it wrong. The first one was true or false. At a 4-way stop, the car on the right has the right of way. And like, that's kind of true sometimes. Like, if you get there at the same time, it's an unprotected stop, then you defer to the car on the right. It even says that like in the manual. But like, if you're there before the other car, or like it's a protected, it was like just on purpose not giving you enough information to like really know what the situation is. It wasn't like, yeah, it wasn't situational. It was just like, fooled you, haha. So I guessed true because like I assumed that's kind of what they were going for. It was false. I knew that I was 50-50 when I guessed. The second one was, how much space do you give a motorcycle? The book says you give a motorcycle the same amount of space as you would a car. And I'm like, yes, let's go. I read this 3 seconds. It's 3 seconds. The problem, of course, is the options that they give you. The options were not 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. It was 2 to 3 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds, 4 to 5 seconds. So 3 seconds is in 2 of the answers. And so I guessed 2 to 3 seconds because I learned 2 seconds to 3 seconds. And it said the same amount of space as a car. Got that one wrong, of course, because it was 3 to 4 seconds. But with those and the questions that were just like random ass rules based and not like driving based, I hit submit. I didn't know if I was gonna get my license, if I got enough questions right. It was 25 questions. I needed 20 questions right. I hit submit and I got 21 questions right. I somehow got my driver's license after a crazy morning. This started at 7 a.m. when I went to go get my car, and it was about 10:30 or so that I finally like got my papers that said that I had a license. I'll be doing a better job of checking that in the future, I guess, because that was a pain in the ass. Hey internet, let's start this video with a quick business terminology lesson. In 2005, the University of Exeter did a study where they found an interesting phenomenon. They were seeing that businesses in periods of crisis were more likely to hire or promote women into leadership roles than they were at any other time. This obviously meant that these women were starting with a low chance of success, and the businesses often failed entirely months after the change in leadership. This phenomenon was coined as the glass cliff because these women were breaking through the glass ceiling just to fall off a cliff. Now that that's out of the way, Elon Musk is finally making good on his promise to step down as the CEO of Twitter. This, of course, was decided by a totally safe and secure Twitter poll. In his place, he has hired Linda Yaccarino, who was formerly the chief advertising officer at NBC. Linda certainly hasn't been set up for success here. Twitter was struggling financially when Musk purchased it, and his run as CEO hasn't done any favors to the value of the company. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't particularly care what happens to Linda herself, as she's part of the owning class and has connections with the World Economic Forum, which is essentially just a worldwide lobbying group vying for the best interests of big business. She will be fine regardless of what happens, but in the coming year, when Twitter is going under and everyone wants to blame the woman, remember this video and the glass cliff. Hey internet, here's a little travel tip for you that has helped me get through many multi-hour car rides. When I'm getting ready, I go through the new music recommendations and download them to my phone. Listening to new music makes me feel productive when there isn't much else to do, and it helps the time pass. Last week, I had to spend 12 hours driving, so I listened to some of the music you guys recommended on my Pop Punk's Not Dead video. Huge shoutouts to the person that told me to listen to Honey Revenge. They only have a handful of songs on Spotify, but they were all great. More importantly, I listened to the new Hot Mulligan album, Why Would I Watch? And holy hell, this album is fantastic. I think I listened to the thing like 4 times on the trip and it just kept delivering. It's a lyrically dense album that kept giving me good lines that got implanted into my brain. This of course on top of music that had me nodding along in the driver's seat. It's going to take a real deep dive into some of the lyrics to get a full appreciation, but if you have a fondness for the emo genre, I highly recommend giving it a listen. You won't regret it. Wednesday, May 23rd marked the official kickoff of Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign. Ol' Rhonda has been the hot name in the Republican Party since the end of the 2020 election cycle as one of, if not the only person to be able to compete with Trump as the face of the party. While there's a lot to unpack with what Ronnie D wants to do with his campaign to Make America Florida, the way he announced his campaign came straight from my dream journal. Meatball Ron decided the best way to announce the presidency was in a Twitter space. The problem, of course, is that Twitter isn't good at anything, including trying to house hundreds of thousands of listeners. During the event, people kept getting kicked from the space, with the event going down entirely 20 minutes in. They were eventually able to get it back up, but not before showing the severe limitations of the service. As for DeSantis, the vehicle and performance of the announcement probably won't have an adverse effect on his campaign. But this time next year, if he never really gets traction, this moment will be where we all look back and say that he was dead on arrival. Hey Internet, something dawned on me last night after Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Quick background, after going down 3-0 and needing to win 4 straight to advance, Boston Celtics star Jaylen Brown had this to say: "Don't let us get one." The implication of that being that if the Heat didn't close out in the next game, Boston was going to come back and win the series. To start, it looked like Brown might be right. The Celtics got 3 of their own to force a winner-take-all Game 7. Unfortunately for them, the Celtics used up all their juice and massively underperformed in the loss. Predictably, Brown is now getting clowned on socials, but what really got me thinking was the upside of the quote if the Celtics did come back to win the series. Sure, Brown was going to get his hate for the day, but coming back from a 3-0 deficit had never happened in NBA history. It's a moment that would have been talked about for decades, and every doc, news segment, or clip would have started with the same quote: "Don't let us get one." While it's a future we'll never see, the lesson to me is clear. Sometimes, you just gotta call your shot. Wake up, babe. New woke company just dropped. The right-wing media personality Joey Manorino has brought to people's attention that Chick-fil-A has a diversity, equity, and inclusion program. He insists that this is bad and anti-white, so it may be time to boycott Chick-fil-A because they are losing their conservative Christian values. This coming even though they've had DEI programs for years. People are just now finding out about it because Rage Against Target and Anheuser-Busch can only get people going for so long. I feel like it has to be hard to be on the far right, especially if they're at the point where it's time to cancel a business just for having a diversity program. I, for one, think they should boycott Chick-fil-A. It will be one down with only a few 100,000 to go. Hey Internet. Well, Apple continues to do what they're best at. They've taken an already existing technology that nobody cares about, made it white and sleek, threw an Apple logo on it, and gave it a price that makes it the most expensive on the market. Apple announced yesterday at the Worldwide Developers Conference that they will be releasing the Vision Pro, which is their attempt to join the augmented reality space that a bunch of other tech companies have already joined, but most prominently Microsoft, who is now on their 2nd generation of AR goggles and has been there for 7 years with their HoloLens. What's interesting about this is that AR as a product has been stagnant at best and dead at worst, with Microsoft not making any steps forward since the release of the HoloLens 2, which was 3.5 years ago. So it begs the question, will this just be a money pit for Apple fanboys to throw money at? Or will it be a shot in the arm to revitalize the AR industry and make it a common item? I'm always skeptical, but it wouldn't be the first time Apple changed everything. Twitch may have finally lost its user base. In the latest and what's been a constant series of, let's say, questionable decisions, Twitch has decided to severely limit streamers' abilities to use third-party ad deals. Long story short, Twitch released a new content policy that puts a ban on ad content that takes up more than 3% of screen space. This would include any overlaid videos, banner ads, and even audio. predictably, people started to push back like they do every time Twitch comes out with a bad policy. But this time was different. Usually we just see a few people tweet empty threats, which have never really been enough to get Twitch's attention. But the new ad policy led to outrage from, well, everyone, and caused some to seriously start to question the future of the platform. The good news is that Twitch informed us that we were just misunderstanding their policy, even though it came with pre-made and easy to understand graphics. They said they will work to make it more clear. Read as, we're backpedaling to avoid a mass exodus. Well, that was fast. After causing outrage with their branded content policy, Twitch has released a statement saying that the policy was bad and that they're going to remove it. They've since updated their branded content page, but they're still using the same terms of service from 2 days ago when they put the policy in place. So even though their info page on branded content doesn't say anything about banner, full screen video, or audio ads, the TOS still explicitly prohibits their use on stream. If you look through archive versions, you can see June 5th, nothing. June 6th, they implemented the change and updated TOS, and the morning after they called the policy bad, it's still the same TOS from June 6th. Now maybe they just haven't updated it yet because changes in TOS have to go through legal review, but it feels unlikely. Essentially, Twitch realized that we didn't like something that was obviously bad for streamers, and instead of fixing it, they removed the handy graphics that tipped us off to the changes. At the end of the day, they haven't done anything. They just made the actual rules harder to find. My wife was scrolling through socials and found an ad for something interesting that I'd never seen before, and I absolutely hate it. Toy manufacturer Mattel is going to, maybe, make a model of the Jurassic Park front gates in commemoration of the 30th anniversary for the release of the film. Now I say maybe because this isn't just a toy. This is a crowdsourced collector's item that Mattel will only make if it has at least 5,000 people commit $250 to the project. This, of course, also features stretch goals up to 10,000 people and an early completion goal that you can find in most Kickstarter campaigns. The idea just feels gross. The reason a company will traditionally crowdfund a project is usually twofold. Either they are struggling to get big funding from a venture capitalist group, or they are trying to circumvent those groups altogether to keep their idea free from corporate influence and maintain their vision. Mattel doesn't have that problem. Their primary shareholders are all private investment groups, so they have no problems getting funding for projects, and nothing they do is ever completely free of their influence. All this to say, don't contribute to this sort of garbage. It's just a way for a multi-billion-dollar corporation to get away with not taking chances. So many people say that the rich deserve their money because they've taken risks that have paid off. So if companies aren't taking risks anymore, why did they deserve our money? Hey Internet, the time has come to close out this chapter of Mario gameplay, as this is the last level of Akogare Mario World, a ROM hack by Mega Scott. This ROM hack was my first love in the Kaizo world. It's a step up in difficulty from some of the easier hacks like Quickie and requires an extra level of tech knowledge and just overall control of Mario. The levels were made with so much care that everything feels fun, and it leads to newer players feeling motivated and rewarded to complete different tricks, but also lends to Kaizo veterans being able to one-shot levels, unless of course they let their guard down and get hit by a troll. Of all the things this hack has done well, one of the more tangible things that you can see from the jump is how Omega puts in trolls. The big thing is that the trolls get you, but in a way that you immediately know how to get past it the next time, and often in ways that you're able to avoid it altogether if you think fast enough. Overall, this is such a fun hack that I really think every Kaizo player should play. Just maybe do a couple of easier ones as a warm-up so it doesn't take you 140 hours like it did me.